At the beginning of the film, the audience sees an elderly man carefully examining and arranging various food ingredients. He does this to ensure the quality of each dish that will be served in large quantities. It is clear that the food is prepared for all the residents in an unusual prison system. Then, the scene shifts to a man who wakes up from an unconscious state. He finds himself in a prison cell with an old man who immediately says, "Level 48." Without giving more explanation, the old man says that starting from that day, they will only eat leftovers from the upper level, which is level 47. In this prison structure, the higher the level, the smaller the number. The top level is level 0, where the food is first placed. When Goreng, the name of the man who just wakes up, looks to the middle of the room, he sees a big hole that connects all the levels vertically. That hole is the path of the food platform, which goes down from level 0 to the lower levels. Trimagasi, the old man, introduces himself and explains that each level holds only 2 prisoners. They stay together for 1 month if both survive. Trimagasi, who has experience, explains the system in the prison. The higher your level, the better your situation. According to him, level 48 is still lucky. When the room light turns green, the food platform starts to go down. But when it reaches their level, the remaining food is already not fresh and in very bad condition. Trimagasi eats it eagerly, while Goreng refuses. It makes sense, as he feels disgusted because the food has already been touched by 47 levels before, equal to 94 people. Each level only gets 2 minutes to eat. Goreng tries to save an apple for later. Shortly after, the platform descends. After eating, Trimagasi spits on the food. Suddenly, Goreng feels the room temperature rise drastically. In Goreng's panic, Trimagasi explains that keeping food outside the designated time causes the room temperature to change extremely. It can become very hot or very cold, as the system's way of punishing the inmates. The only way to return the temperature to normal is by placing the food back on the platform. The scene moves to the past, when Goreng has an interview with a prison officer. In the interview, he is allowed to bring 1 item into the prison. Goreng chooses to bring a book. His reason for joining is not because he is a criminal, but because he joins a special 6-month program to get a diploma. Meanwhile, Trimagasi enters prison because he throws a TV from his apartment, which kills a cyclist. Days pass. Goreng continues to resist eating the leftover food. He only watches Trimagasi eat it greedily. He then asks, "How many levels are in this prison?" Trimagasi does not know for sure, but he once stays on level 132, a level that most likely gets no leftover food at all. That opens Goreng's eyes that the system is truly cruel. Goreng tries to suggest that the people on the upper levels should leave some food for those below, but Trimagasi responds by urinating on the food platform. According to him, it is already a chain of hatred. When someone is below, they starve. When they are above, they take revenge. Interestingly, the item Trimagasi brings into the prison is a kitchen knife. Slowly, hunger makes Goreng start eating the leftovers too. After finishing his meal, Goreng spends his time reading a book. At that moment, a corpse falls from the upper floor. Trimagasi says that it's a common thing. Goreng then begins to form a theory. If Trimagasi has stayed on level 132 and survived, he most likely does it in a horrifying way by consuming the body of his cellmate, especially since he brings a knife. Not long after, the food platform arrives carrying a woman sitting on it. Her name is Miharu. She often uses the platform to go down to the lower levels with one goal: to find her missing child. Trimagasi says Miharu is known to be cruel because she often kills her cellmates to increase her chance of being placed with her child. The system randomly changes the prisoners' levels every month and assigns new cellmates if one of them dies. Sure enough, the dead body that fell earlier is Miharu's former cellmate. When Miharu reaches level 49, 2 prisoners try to pull her aggressively. However, Miharu is able to kill them and goes back up, covered in wounds. Goreng and Trimagasi grow closer. Their days are filled with conversation and survival. Until one day, gas fills the room, a sign that the prisoners are about to be put to sleep so the shuffle process can take place. The next day, Goreng wakes up tied up. He is now on level 171 with Trimagasi. At this level, no food remains. Trimagasi admits he cannot survive a month without eating. So, he ties Goreng up and plans to slice his body little by little to eat. He promises to fast for 1 week before starting and says he will not cut any vital parts. Many prisoners choose to kill themselves when placed on the lower levels because the chances of surviving are very small. Trimagasi starts his fast, while Goreng can only surrender. After a few days, hunger becomes unbearable, and Trimagasi begins cutting Goreng's thigh. By coincidence, Miharu appears on level 171. Seeing Trimagasi torturing Goreng, Miharu immediately attacks and stabs Trimagasi. She then frees Goreng and lets him release his anger. Trimagasi's life ends tragically. He dies brutally on level 171. Goreng, who is already very weak, eventually faints. When he regains consciousness, he sees Miharu eating Trimagasi's corpse. It is hard to accept, but in this prison, strange habits have become normal. What surprises Goreng is no longer the brutal behavior, but the moment when Miharu deliberately feeds him pieces of human flesh. Goreng, who is not used to it, immediately vomits. However, Miharu, the silent woman who never speaks a word, keeps forcing Goreng to swallow the flesh from Trimagasi. When Goreng tries to ask her about the child she is searching for, Miharu goes down to the lower level. For a whole month on level 171, Goreng is forced to survive by eating human flesh, even though it is full of maggots. Time passes, and in the next month, Goreng wakes up on a different level. This time, he is with a woman named Imoguiri, who brings a pet dog. They are on level 33, not too bad compared to before. It turns out that Imoguiri is the same person who interviews Goreng before he enters the prison. At that time, she asks him to name his favorite food so it can be provided on the platform. Goreng then asks, "How many levels are there in this prison?" Imoguiri answers that in her 25 years of working, she knows the prison has around 200 levels. Logically, the food provided is not enough for around 400 inmates. But Imoguiri believes that if everyone is willing to share, the food will be enough for all. Being on a higher level allows them to eat more properly. However, Imoguiri insists on rationing the food so it can reach the lower levels. Unfortunately, the prisoners do not obey. They feel this is their only chance to eat as much as they want. For 15 days, Imoguiri tries hard to convince the lower levels to follow the rules. But all her efforts are in vain, until finally Goreng threatens, "If you don't obey, I will pee and poop on your food." This threat immediately makes the prisoners comply. The next day, when the food platform comes down again, they find Miharu lying on it, badly wounded. Goreng and Imoguiri quickly help her. But the situation changes when Imogiri's dog takes food from the platform. Suddenly, the room temperature drops. Goreng quickly reacts and grabs the food back so the temperature returns to normal. A few hours later, Miharu gets into a fight with Imoguiri. Miharu kills and eats Imogiri's pet dog alive. After that, Miharu goes down again with the platform. Imoguiri falls silent, deeply shaken. She then confesses that Miharu never has a child. Miharu once dreamed of becoming an actress like Marilyn Monroe, but she fails and eventually goes insane, obsessed with a child who never exists. Imoguiri also reveals that she enters the prison voluntarily because she has been suffering from terminal cancer for the past 3 years. She wants to die here, eaten by another inmate. From that day on, Imoguiri refuses to eat and lies down weakly, even though it is their last day on level 33. The next day, they are moved to level 202. Goreng wakes up in shock. Imoguiri has hanged herself. He feels frustrated and is haunted by hallucinations of Trimagasi and Imoguiri, who pressure him to eat Imogiri's flesh to survive. This month, he is on level 202, where no food is left. He takes a piece of broken glass to count how many times the platform stops until it reaches level 0. Trying to figure out how many levels the prison has. No one knows the exact number. Refusing to eat Imogiri's flesh, he eats torn pages from the book he brings. But as the hallucination of Trimagasi keeps persuading him, he eventually eats Imogiri's flesh for a whole month. The following month, Goreng wakes up on level 6, a paradise in the middle of hell. He is now accompanied by Baharat, a religious man who is optimistic about escaping the prison. Baharat brings a rope as his chosen item, hoping to climb to the upper levels. Baharat tries to persuade the inmates above to help him climb. They seem to agree. But as Baharat begins to climb, a woman from the level above defecates on his face. Baharat becomes angry and disappointed. The food platform arrives on the 6th floor, and the food is still quite intact and appetizing. But Goreng no longer wants to be selfish. They eat just enough. In contrast, the inmates on level 7 eat greedily. If this behavior continues, solidarity will never exist. Goreng realizes that this is his last month in the prison. He asks Baharat to descend together using the food platform, with the goal of distributing food fairly to the lowest levels. At first, Baharat is confused. Why go down when level 6 is already comfortable? But Goreng convinces him that if this mission succeeds, they can bring real change to this cruel prison system. Goreng estimates that the prison has 250 levels. If his calculation is wrong, they will face disaster, especially if the food runs out before reaching the bottom level. Baharat finally agrees. They break the bed frames to use as weapons, then get on the food platform and begin their descent. Baharat threatens the prisoners on level 7 to fast for 1 day to make the mission succeed. If they refuse, he threatens to kill them. They plan to keep the food untouched until level 51. As they go down each level, Goreng and Baharat threaten the prisoners to fast. Eventually, they reach a level where a wise man named Brambang lives. He is Baharat's former teacher. He suggests that their mission should include a symbol, a message to the workers on the starting point, who are believed to have more conscience than the prison managers. They decide to bring one special dish, a panna cotta. This food must reach the starting point untouched, as a symbol that solidarity can exist in the middle of chaos. The journey continues to level 51, where they start sharing the food more systematically. But when they enter the 100s, many prisoners are already dead. The food platform keeps going down, and it won't stop unless someone is still alive on that level. At one level, they find Miharu being attacked by a man. Goreng tries to help, and a fight breaks out. Baharat gets seriously injured in the stomach, and Miharu dies. They continue down, and the platform finally stops at level 333. They are surprised because the room looks empty. But then they find a little girl hiding under the bed. She is the child Miharu has been looking for. As they approach the girl, the food platform goes down and leaves them. Strangely, the food Baharat brings does not change the room temperature, even though it is still there. Goreng and Baharat feel confused. How can they save the child, while the panna cotta is supposed to be the message for the workers at level 0? In the end, they give the panna cotta to the girl. They choose to give up their hope for the sake of one child's life. A few hours later, Goreng wakes up feeling weak and starts hallucinating. He sees Trimagasi, Imoguiri, Miharu, and Baharat. They say that the child is the true message. Baharat has died from blood loss. Goreng then brings the girl to the bottom level. There, Trimagasi says, the message doesn't need a messenger. The meaning is clear. The child can return to the upper levels alone, without Goreng. Soon after, the platform rises quickly, taking the girl back to the starting point. The hope is that this child becomes the last symbol of humanity, showing that in this prison, empathy and solidarity are not completely gone.